Our hope is that when someone goes and starts a small business, they immediately think that I get to go partner with Vista on this. We're not there yet, but it's very clear to us what that opportunity is and the steps we need to take to get there. We'll have some route changes along the way, but the destination won't change.
Hi, I'm Jason Harris, and you're listening to Soul and Science. Fast forward your marketing mind in about 20 minutes. Welcome to the podcast. Today, we're joined by Ricky Engelberg. He owned a record label. He worked at Buena Vista Pictures, and he was a veteran at Nike for about 19 years, then went to Converse. He is currently the CMO at Vista. Formerly, you might recognize it as VistaPrint. It is a $1.4 billion brand that helps small businesses tell their stories and grow through a variety of print and digital marketing and design services. Vista is a marketing partner to millions of small businesses all around the world. As CMO, Ricky oversees essential functions such as customer experience and the digital products. Ricky has developed an agile approach to marketing by quickly adapting to the needs of small businesses during the pandemic, which we will get into in this podcast. He's led initiatives like the well-known This Is Not a Mask campaign, which helped normalize the use of masks as a form of expression as we began to reopen during the pandemic. Ricky also helped start Vista's Save Small Business Fund, which funds grants for underrepresented and less fortunate communities in the U.S. Through his work at Vista, Ricky has shown how a brand can quickly shift to meet the needs of their customers when they need it and how to build a community. So we are going to talk today about a lot of things because Ricky has been in marketing for a long time, has worked at a lot of places. And today's episode theme, we're going to circle around, is the power of community. All right, let's dive right in. We always start, Ricky, with the person's origin story because some people fall into marketing and some people are born into marketing. Which were you?
Interesting question. I'd say born into is probably closer to accurate than fall into. I just a nerd for ads growing up and a nerd for innovation and what the world could be and all these different things. And so I reflect back on being in high school or college, and one of my favorite things was seeing ad campaigns, seeing how companies launched, how they existed, how the internet changed things for them. It's kind of always been what I've done is try to figure out how interesting things happen in the world. So I'd say born into it more so, but not from like a legacy family of marketers in that way.
You are one of maybe two other people that feel like that was their career path. I was also born into it. I always studied advertising and branding. And when you started, Ricky, what was the first like work thing that you did in the field of marketing?
But when I was in college, I was working at the college radio station, and we put on a talk show called Sports Talk Live, trying to remember, like, all right, for a University of Georgia football game, you would have different like remote live, like game day style broadcasts we would do, working every connection possible to figure out how to get the actual ESPN game day crew to go be guests on our talk show on a Saturday for a Georgia-Tennessee game. Was one of the first things I feel like is like, oh, wow, we actually built on something really awesome today. Was very much a special moment on that. And then kind of reflect back and it's like, at that point, I was helping with a bunch of different record labels at the time. And it's interesting because like we would send out records to college radio stations or to music reviewers and get no feedback. And you'd be like, oh, well, we sent out 100 CDs and 4 are now tracking. And there was an album we put out, this band Life Without Buildings. And I'll never forget on that Tuesday when I met friends in downtown for lunch, we'd sent out a bunch of their CDs on like the Thursday before. That Tuesday I come home and on my answering machine, there's like 14 voicemails and start playing them. And it's just Mount Rushmore of like indie rock nerddom at that point. It's the AV Club, it's KEXP, it's the Village Voice, all be like, hey, we got this Life Without Buildings package. We love this. And that moment of going, oh, this is what it's like to have a hit product. This is what it's like to find product market fit. This is what it's like to like find something that people really, 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 really care about. The band broke up a few months later. It's a whole other story for another time. Fast forward 20 years, it became a huge hit on TikTok.
Oh, wow.
Last spring break, my 16-year-old niece was randomly listening to one of their songs on Spotify she didn't believe that I had actually released their album and that I ever had a record label. So that was a little hurtful on her part. Riley, if you're listening, thanks. But the same way we went about anything at that time is very much at the core of like how I think about marketing today. Like, who's the audience? Who will care? Who can you actually make an impact with? How do you make an impact? How do you win? Are some of those same questions. When I got to Nike, I started full time. I was 23. It was 2002, and you just realize the power of like we should go and dream big. Like my first big project in Nike was we created Nike Lab, where we collaborate with 36 different artists around the world to tell over multiple years to tell the performance innovation story of our shoes. And like I look back at those artists, and I still talk to some of them today. I was texting with one of them 2 days ago. They're incredible film director now, and to me, like that notion of some of those projects we did in like 2003, 2004, we were making up a whole new language at that time, but through the lens of like what will actually cut through and be amazing. I mean,
I remember Nike Lab was like, it was one of the like seminal brand moments where it was like, oh man, Nike's just doing it differently.
And it was an awesome example of like, there was 3 of us and the company's like, go do it, have fun. I'd been to the company 3 months at that point. Self-admitting, like I knew the Cannes Film Festival. I didn't know anything about the Cannes Lions. All of a sudden, we won all these awards at Cannes, and for Nike Lab, and I was like, oh, I didn't even know there was marketing awards at Cannes.
That's amazing. That's like winning in year one, winning the NBA Finals or something. You know what I mean? Like you start off at the high point.
Those are some of the things where it was, how do you do awesome things and make an impact?
And so your record label was in Athens?
Yeah. I mean, it was a small baby record label. It was me and my roommate for like 6 releases.
What was the name of it?
DC Baltimore 2012.
Oh, okay. DC Baltimore 2012.
Named after a fictitious Olympic bid for the DC Baltimore area in 2012. And so again, it's the kind of the path from 1995 to 2002 into the Nike phase, into the Vista phase is kind of all one big continuum, which has been, I don't know, interesting upon reflection, but not intentional.
Everyone wants to work at Nike.
What made, I think, accelerated success at Nike was the same things that helped with trying to sign a band or trying to make an impact college radio station, just with a very large swoosh-shaped spotlight on it.
You knew more than the organization, and so they kind of let you do what you wanted.
Yeah, but it also was fun it was also just a lot of fun it was things like, all right, we're going to go meet with EA and figure out how do we put shoes in a game? How do we make it so that kids can unlock shoes when playing NBA Live or FIFA? And we're going to go to E3 and we're going to go just figure out opportunities.
Oh my God. I worked on PlayStation. I remember going to E3 every year. You felt like you were on the verge of like something really special, you know?
And I think that time we had such support from the senior leadership in North America and globally at the company. Nike opened up a lot of doors to go and try to take a blank whiteboard and make it a very big impact on the world. I mean, we came up with a program, my friend Jesse and I came up with a program for the 2010 World Cup called The Chance. Hey, there's 1 million football-obsessed teens in the world who think they're the best in the world if they only get a chance to prove it. The global football system is kind of brutal. Like if you don't make it by 15, you're kind of done in most of the world. And basically got all these players at like 16 to 20 years old. The 8 kids that won that would get a chance to be in the academy that Nike created in London. I think 4 of those 8 players played in the World Cup the next year.
Oh, it's sick.
Like they were out of football. And then because of this program we put together, they became professional football players and played in the World Cup.
They played in national teams. That's amazing.
Behind everything Nike does that's awesome are usually a couple people at a whiteboard being like, wouldn't it be cool if we did this?
Yeah.
And then working your way through the matrix to make it happen. And we were just really lucky at that time.
What did Nike teach you about the importance of building community, and how did that shape your career?
Community is just an absolute critical building block. I mean, you look at sneaker culture, you look at the love that a 15-year-old kid could develop for a brand, the love that a sneakerhead could develop, the passion that the amount of people that come up to us and be like, Nike Plus running is what changed my life. I hated running and I fell in love with running because of Nike Plus running. Those stories are community. I mean, community takes lots of different shapes and forms, but anytime you could create people that are truly passionate by creating things that help make their life better, great opportunities emerge from there. At its core, Nike is obsessed with customers, is obsessed with athletes, is obsessed with this consumer. And how do you actually make their life better with such a constant conversation? And how do you be respectful to communities that you are a part of and understand that you are a part of that community? Like that to me was a foundational piece of, we're going from Nike to Converse to going from Converse to Vista. It's like at Vista, one of the biggest things we've done this year is just build a small business ambassador program. We host dinners every month with small businesses in different cities in the U.S. We did something called the Refer Her program we did with iFund Women, where we hosted 5 dinners in Sydney, Paris, London, Toronto, and Los Angeles with different first-time female entrepreneurs, where they're able to invite other small business owners into these dinners. Those are just amazing community building opportunities where it's about us just trying to develop relationships and understand how can we truly help small businesses increase the odds of success.
You went from Nike, then you went to Converse, then you went to Vista. But what appealed to you to make that jump from, 20 something years in the Nike Converse world to the Vista world?
20 years is a long time. The way I kind of always put it is like, someone's born, they go to daycare, kindergarten, elementary school, middle school, high school, and you're a sophomore in college. And that's kind of the approximate time that I had been part of Nike Inc.
That's scary to look at it that way.
Yeah. It was something where there's always going to be amazing new challenges that existed there. But the opportunity to go and try to make amazing design and marketing partnership accessible to small businesses was something I was just deeply passionate about. So when I looked at the opportunity, it was interesting because we had just spent 17 years in Portland and then moved to Boston and been in Boston 3 years. And the thing that was so interesting about Portland was it was just so small business supportive. There was literally 1,000 food carts in Portland that the city worked hard to protect. You had these chefs moving up from San Francisco or from Seattle that were able to go and start their dream restaurant in Portland and be able to afford it and have neighborhoods embrace these restaurants. It was just this never ending amount of these incredibly successful small businesses thriving. And how do you take that same spirit and make it available to everyone? Because what you realize over time is for small businesses, so much of it, like you start the business because you want to be a baker, you want to be a landscape architect, you want to be own your own gym. But so much of the job is marketing. So much of the job is HR management. So much of the job is accounting. And so I can't help you with all those things, but Vista gives you the opportunity to say, we've got you a design and marketing partner. In the same way that I could pick up the phone and call an RGA or AKQA or a Mechanism or whoever the case may be to go and help with something, a small business, when the door shuts at 7:00 at night, is the time they get to go figure out how to go and grow their business, run their business, because they're there all day and you can't pick up the phone and call RGA to go help with that. And so that opportunity, or maybe you could, my apologies to RGA, they have a small business arm aimed at helping local small businesses. But in general,
it's inaccessible for businesses.
Exactly. And the opportunity for us to try to make that accessible was what made me go over to Vista, because it was interesting when talking to Robert Keane, the founder CEO, who's still the CEO of the company. Like, it's 12 million businesses a year we work with. It's just millions and millions of businesses around the world, this super global footprint. And if you could truly go and be that partner for small business and make great design accessible, can we increase the odds of success that much more? If we can make it so it's easy to go and have social media management for them, can we make it that much easier? Since I've been here, we bought 99 designs, 100,000 amazing designers around the world. We bought a company out of Ukraine called Krello, which we turned into Vista Create, which is amazing social media software management. We have a partnership with Wix now for all of our digital solutions for small businesses. And we're just slowly and steadily bundling them together to be able to be that agency-like partner for a small business. And so exciting times ahead with it.
Is that why you, because you're doing so much more now, you dropped the print from VistaPrint and you just you're basically helping small businesses, you're their marketing arm?
You hit the nail on the head. Like, VistaPrint is a signature service of ours. VistaPrint will be around forever. But Vista represents being a design and marketing partner And that's a combination of design, print, and digital. VistaPrint is the primary service that people know us for. As you zoom out over the next couple of years, increasingly the default state for us will become Vista. And it's about being the collection of services for small business we have, where if someone is using 99 Designs to get their logo and Vista times Wix to turn it on to put it on their website, then that's an amazing Vista experience. If someone uses Vista Create for social management and Vista Print to go and print everything they need, that's an amazing Vista experience. And so Vista is a parent brand with a collection of signature services underneath it that will be continuing to grow over time to help small businesses. And from an experience standpoint, I mean, we're just continually pushing to figure out how to have them more seamlessly integrated and accessible to everyone.
Do you see that you're competing with like Fiverr or those types of brands, or do you see that as more not necessarily small business competition?
Fiverr probably would fit into competition from a design standpoint. Again, I think we don't really view what we're doing as trying to 100% compete with any one company, but rather find the right path down the mountain that gets you the right design, the right social media management, the right website, the right print needs, that holistic solution, versus ending up in a place where we are singularly your design agency.
Kind of be like the long-term partner for these small businesses, not just do one thing and you don't talk to Vista again, but it's much more about creating solutions for small business owners no matter where they are in their life cycle.
Exactly. Wherever you are in the journey, we have a solution for you. And that's what we see from a community standpoint. If someone just worked with their best friend to create the best logo ever, the last thing they want from us is to be like, well, you know what you need? A new logo.
Yeah.
What you really need is to understand how to bring that logo to life in all the different touch places, because there's a good chance you just have a PDF or an Illustrator file sitting on your computer at that point going, all right, what's the right things to do with this from here?
Then the pandemic hits. What was the path there when that happened and you realize small businesses can be in trouble during this time?
Yeah, a surreal and interesting first few weeks. Our first instinct was figure out what this means for our employees. Like, what does this upcoming pandemic mean for our employees? And how do you make sure that everyone is able to find that right balance of we're in a global pandemic and we need to go help every small business we can, but you have to take care of yourself and your family as much as you can. This is going to be like a hurricane for small businesses. And you think about like the concert for New York type things. Like, we should put on a telethon that brings different music artists together to raise money for small business. And you're like, oh, cool. We should see if we can figure that out. Well, what charity will we support? And you're like, oh, wait, there isn't actually a small business charity that exists.
Yeah.
And that was an interesting moment to realize how important it was going to be to really, truly understand how to help small businesses. And it wouldn't be enough to be like, we're going to have a fundraiser if there was no ways to actually distribute money at that point. And so just started banging the drum, meeting after meeting, again, early days of the pandemic, and eventually ended up partnering with the U.S. Chamber Foundation to create the Save Small Business Fund. But it was just interesting at that point in time to realize just how alone small businesses were going to be with things like PPP coming into the fold at that point.
Yeah.
That were just incredibly confusing. And since then, lots of small businesses support funds have emerged. We work closely with Hello Alice on a lot of different things. If we want to be a partner to small business, you can't just be a partner for them when things are good. And so I think through the U.S. Chamber Foundation was about $8 million raised for small business. And then lots of other things have emerged from there from a fundraising standpoint. But for us, we also realized very early on that we had a global supply chain, factories in Mexico and Italy and China, that were going to allow us to very quickly get a line spun up for masks. So a lot of people in the first few weeks of the pandemic were wearing like tablecloths that they had sewn together as masks. One of the most important things we could do for small businesses was going to be trying to help make masks normalized and an item people actually are comfortable wearing. Our goal was not make the cheapest mask or the most expensive mask. Our goal was to make the best mask available on the best timeline we could with great designs. A few of my old friends from their creative directors at Nike to go help us do initial mask designs. We brought in a bunch of different artists. We'll always be grateful to Futura and Jen Stark and Jeff McFetridge and Para for jumping on this to say, hey, let's go.
Those are some powerhouse designers right there.
It was a great first four. The best thing we could do as a partner was go and be a loud advocate that a mask was a sign of love. A mask was not a medical device. A mask was not paranoia. A mask was saying, I care about my neighbors. I care about the businesses. I care about my family. When a door opens, a barista shouldn't have to worry at that point in time about, is someone going to be coming in wearing a mask or not? Am I going to get sick from this person coming in?
It's really, those things were really an investment in the future, because kind of brand building, but also the right thing to do. Was that a hard thing to communicate or get approval on or to move forward?
We couldn't say we wanted to be a partner to small business and not be a partner to small business. So It was never really much of a discussion. It was just, how do we do it? And then from whiteboard to launch was like 4 weeks.
That's incredible. Your career, you've done a lot of breakthrough work. You've done a lot of just kind of going for it. Now that you're, older and wiser, do you still mainly lead through gut instinct and leading with your heart, or do you use a lot of data and information to make your decisions as a leader?
It's a cop-out to say both, but I would say in the end, the future always involves a gut decision.
I love that. The future always involves a gut decision is great.
But in order to have an informed gut, taking as much information as humanly possible to be able to find the connection points, to be able to find adjacent analogous data sets, and try to reduce the risk as much as possible. But in the end, it's still a leap. There's nothing better than going out and walking around a city and taking a bunch of pictures of wild postings in retail stores and going on listening to a podcast or going to a random speaker in this golden era of Zoom conferences being available and finding a data point that from a company that's maybe similar, but maybe not similar. And all those things get put into smoothie that eventually is your problem has to get solved. And you have those reference points to be able to latch onto. And so to me, I don't view it as a gut decision, like the decision in the end's a gut, but the thing that gets to the ideas are all formed off of a tremendous amount of inputs that I view as data. In the Google sense of the word data, is it data? Probably no. But also, like, one of the things that I'm a big believer in is, like, it's important to go and try to create the press play vision of what you want 3 years from now, 5 years from now to look like. Then it makes every decision slightly easier as well. As like, if you make this decision, it goes well, does it get you closer to the destination you want to get to 3 years from now?
Right.
And so, but again, in the end though, you're still going to have to make a call.
What is the 3-year idea in your head now? Where do you see Vista, how you're going to help shape the future of Vista?
3 years from now, our hope is that when someone goes and starts a small business, they immediately think that I get to partner with Vista on this. It comes to a place where your hope is that when someone thinks about starting a small business, we show up as if we're the guardian angel on your shoulder that could help you on that journey. And I think that's something where we're not there yet, but it's very clear to us what that opportunity is and the steps we need to take to get there. If you're driving from Boston to DC, the route's going to change 3 or 4 times based upon traffic, but the destination doesn't change. And I think that's where we're at. It's like, we know becoming that brand you're proud to use as a design and marketing partner is where we want to be. We'll have some route changes along the way, but the destination won't change.
That's great. I love that. There's, some proverb or quote about you have to envision the future or else you'll just get stuck in the past. And I think that as a CMO and a market leader, you always have to be thinking about what's next. So some questions for you, Ricky. Do you have any role model that helped shape who you are today?
I mean, I can reflect back on lots of different people that have impacted along the way. My mom just let me be a nerd on things, worked out pretty well. Put a computer in my room early on, was cool when I wanted to be like, hey, I'm going to figure out how to sell baseball cards. Was cool when I was like, I'd like to go and redesign every logo for every baseball team. At no point she was like, you know what, you'd probably be better off taking science classes. Like, she was more like, cool, if that's what makes you happy, go for it. But I think over time, I mean, there's been people from a Nike standpoint that were super impactful on my career journey. I mean, people like Trevor Edwards, Davide Grasso, Lynn Merritt, that just they embraced the possibilities that the company had. And at no point were we like, oh, you're 23 or you're 20. Like, it was, our job is to go and serve athletes, go after it, go figure it out. At Nike, were like, the people I named were just massively impactful. And there's so many more. It's not something I think too much about on a daily basis.
You've had a lot of memorable on-screen moments.
Oh gosh.
The Nickelodeon game show, you answered correctly. It got used in a promo. What was that like? And did it teach you anything, or did you learn anything?
I don't know if I learned much from it other than that game shows are weird. And that like there's a tremendous amount of breaks in a commercial and a production of a game show, and that they film them in bunches, and that it's like 60% luck on a game show. Like, right. Is your buzzer working fast? It did, I guess, teach me that like the footage of you growing up might live forever in this modern era. It was fun. Like, I had 2,000 Dum Dum Pops as my prize for one of the game shows.
Oh God!
And my kids are really, really, really excited about the fact that one day when I was in middle school, I was given 2,000 lollipops. I wish I'd been given like $700, but that's probably less fun than I got 2,000 lollipops for my kids.
Do you have like a quote, a mantra, or a viewpoint that thinking something through you kind of fall back on?
It's funny. I don't think I realize just how much I probably do until people point it out. Like, I feel like do rad things and don't be a jerk goes a long way. Like, and it doesn't mean like just agree to everything, but like there's a difference in like when someone has to steamroll to get something done versus building a coalition on things.
Yeah.
And I think just in general, like, do rad things that are impactful with a point of view on how it impacts customers, not just rad for rad's sake, but like aiming to do rad things over and over and over goes a long way, I think, for people. And I think that sometimes it's tricky when people end up not understanding what the win might be. How, like, if you go and do this, and all these people are going to spend 18 months working on this, or 3 months, or 2 all-nighters. It doesn't, like, what's the win of it? Is always a good thing to ask. But yeah, again, if I had someone made me a sign saying do rad things, it's like, oh, I guess I do save it a lot.
I love that. I think that is a good business and personal advice. I think that could be your book that you come out with. Do rad things and don't be a jerk. And I think that's good life advice. Well, thank you, Ricky, for your time. You've had an amazing career. We can't wait to see what you do next. And thanks for coming on the Soul and Science podcast today.
Oh, thank you so much, Jason, for having me. Much appreciated.
Soul and Science is a Mechanism podcast produced by Maggie Bowles, Ryan Tillotson, Tyler Nielsen, Emma Swanson, and Lily Jablonski. The show is edited by Daniel Ferreira with theme music by Kyle Merritt. And I'm your host, Jason Harris.